7:51 here, Big 550 KTRS. Before there was Rosie the Riveter, women helped during the Civil War, and Cokie Roberts, one of our favorites from ABC News, has a brand new book and has researched all about it. It's called Capital Dames, the Civil War and the Women of Washington. Cokie Roberts, welcome back to KTRS here in St. Louis.
So nice to be with you. I haven't talked to you guys in a long time.
Yeah, in terms of full disclosure, my sister went to Wellesley, so I have to be nice to you.
Well, there you go. There's nothing like the old girls network.
There you go. All right, so I love this idea of a book because we all sort of remember Rosie the Riveter, but it sounds like the women played a massive and major role during the Civil War.
That's true, and very similar to World War II in the way that it affected the lives of women and the role of Washington in American society. So women, yes, did come in and work in the arsenals, very dangerous work. In fact, the one here in Washington exploded and killed a couple of dozen very young women, and the newspaper accounts of it are horrible. They talk when they uncovered the unrecognizable bodies. The reporter couldn't get over how they were trapped in their hoop skirts here in a terrible hot Washington summer doing this dangerous work, but still dressed like proper mid-19th century ladies. And then women came in to work in the government in huge numbers, by the hundreds, just as they did in World War II. One of their main jobs was cutting out the dollar bills from the big sheets that were printed at the Treasury. And then there were women who came as nurses, an occupation that had not been open to women before. And in fact, still, the only woman still to have won the Medal of Honor was a doctor in the Civil War, Dr. Mary Walker. So lots of different ways that they came here and changed this place and changed the role of women.
The book is called Capital Dames. Now, Cokie Roberts, you can't go to YouTube and check out the video from the 1860s. So how did you go about researching this?
Well, fortunately, because I had written earlier history books, the people in the historic societies and the university libraries knew my work, and that made them wonderfully, wonderfully cooperative as I started down this path and saying, do you have anything? So I did find diaries and letters that had never been published before. And, it's great fun to read other people's mail. And so you get to know these people in a very intimate way. And women's letters are just so much better than men's letters. The men knew that they were important, and they were self-important. They wrote these considered, edited, pompous letters. I always say it's as if the bronze and marble statues of them wrote the letters instead of actually human beings writing them. But the women write letters, They tell you what's going on. They talk about politics plenty, but they also talk about fashion and economics and who's having babies and who's losing babies, and it's the full scope of human existence. So you learn a great deal more from them.
Do you have a favorite that you found?
Well, they're all different, They're people who are incredibly worthy and accomplished and did remarkable things, like Clara Barton, who turns out to be really much more remarkable than we ever knew. But she was not a treat to hang with. She was not what you'd call a barrel of laughs. But a lot of the political women were utterly delightful. I think one of the most was Verena Davis, Jefferson Davis's wife. She would have been fun to have dinner with.
Is it true Mary Todd Lincoln? She was kind of had a temper?
She was a piece of work. Well, I think today she would be diagnosed as bipolar. She was mercurial, to put it mildly, and she had no governor. She had no governor on what she said or what she spent. And she at one point was accused of leaking the State of the Union message to the New York Herald, either in exchange for favorable publicity or for money, depending on whose story you read. But she then the Congress then investigated the leak. I mean, this is nothing new under the sun to investigate the First Lady's communications. As far as I know, she didn't have a private server, but but the Congress was investigating, and the president had to go to the Hill and say, "Please do not subpoena my wife, because it will embarrass me so much." And since he had a Republican Congress, he was able to do that.
Wow. Capital Dames is the book, The Civil War and the Women of Washington. Cokie Roberts, our guest. While we have you, Cokie Roberts, Hillary, the odds-on favorite, clearly for the Democrats, speaking of Washington women. But I keep hearing a lot of people saying not so fast and making crazy predictions like she's not going to win it. Now, I don't know if that's because there's nothing left to talk about or people have some inside info. Do you think Hillary's the odds-on favorite, and does anybody have a chance to come up and sort of take that ring from her?
She is definitely the odds-on favorite, and the only person who can defeat her is Hillary Clinton, and that's her problem, is that she's essentially running against herself, and so the entire attention is on her, and so the stories are all about, as you well know, her emails and the money to the Clinton Foundation, and it takes a toll. And so then the question is, does anybody credible get in against her? So far, that hasn't happened. And what are the voters' reactions? And I think what you're going to see is other politicians watching the polls and seeing if she really is losing support as a result of these stories. If that's the case, then you will see somebody get in.
And you've got plenty of time. I mean, they don't have to get in now. They can actually get in during the primary season.
Right, exactly. I mean, first of all, Iowa isn't until next year.
Right.
So there is plenty of time.
Cokie Roberts, the book is called Capital Dames, The Civil War and the Women of Washington. Get it where books are still sold in person or anywhere online. Cokie Roberts, thanks for checking in.
Thanks so much, McGraw and Kelly.
You got it. Capital Dames, The Civil War and the Women of Washington.